In her old life in Manhattan, food was just an equation for Clara. It had to be efficient, like a protein shake slammed down between meetings. Or it had to be a status symbol, a coveted table at a 3-Michelin-star restaurant. She'd consumed thousands of meals served with the speed of a financial transaction, everything pre-cut, sterile, and emotionally vacant. But a choice to experience a humble Banh Xeo on a Saigon sidewalk would change everything. This wasn't a quick meal. This was the art of unbundling. This is the story of how Clara abandoned her obsession with cleanliness and efficiency to find healing in the gentle sizzle and the deliberate flip of a savory crepe. After confronting her fear of strangers in the previous episode, Clara had shed her armor of defensiveness. She no longer saw new people as dangerous variables, but as potential companions. Yet a final void lingered in her soul, the void of authentic enjoyment. Her old life was just a perpetual cycle of numb consumption. She had never truly savored a meal. One afternoon, after finishing her notes on cultural differences, Clara was struck by a deep fatigue. She was tired of the pre-packaged takeout containers in her fridge. They were meticulously sealed, clearly labeled with calorie counts, yet utterly devoid of life. Food for me was always a protected transaction. Clean utensils, clean tablecloth, zero food risk, zero social risk. But it was ice-cold comfort. She knew she had to seek out a dish that embodied the spirit of a Nien, peace of mind, a meal that demanded full bodily participation. Her guide, Miss Mai, suggested Banh Xeo, the sizzling cake. Their destination wasn't a respectable air-conditioned restaurant, but a bustling sidewalk stall, where an ancient cast-iron wok was perpetually roaring hot. As they arrived, the scene was a sensory explosion that momentarily stunned Clara. An older woman was continuously pouring yellow batter into hot oil, creating a massive, joyful zhou-zhou sound that gave the dish its name. The scent of frying batter, shrimp, pork, and fresh greens assaulted her senses, a chaotic yet thrilling mixture of aromas that felt intensely alive. Miss Mai led Clara to a small, worn metal table already occupied by 2 smiling strangers. She calmly took a low plastic stool, motioning for Clara to do the same. "Here, the table is for everyone, Miss Clara. There are no private tables." This was the first new lesson. The meal is an uninvited communal event. When the steaming Banh Xeo was brought out, it was a work of culinary art. Golden yellow, crispy at the edges, the filling of shrimp, pork, and bean sprouts warm and fragrant inside. It came with a huge platter of fresh, vibrant herbs and leaves. Clara noticed the pile was visually chaotic, a stark contrast to the segregated rows of produce in a US grocery store. Yet looking closer, she saw the leaves were spotlessly clean, holding the sharp, honest aroma of the field, a freshness that transcended the sterile standards of any Western supermarket. Clara instinctively reached for a napkin, but Miss Mai stopped her. "No fork and knife, Miss Clara. This must be eaten with the hands. If you fear getting messy, the flavor will be lost." This was a complete inversion of Clara's entire culinary philosophy. In her old world, a luxurious meal meant leaving no trace on her hands. Now she was required to get them dirty. Miss Mai began to instruct her in the ritual. First, tear. Rip off a piece of the crispy crepe, an act of breaking its perfect integrity. Next, place it on a large lettuce leaf. Then add. Load it up with various aromatic fresh herbs, perilla, fish mint, basil, each one adding a new layer of flavor. Then roll it tightly into a compact shape. Finally, dip. Submerge it completely into the amber, sweet and sour fish sauce. And then, eat. Clara performed the ritual awkwardly at first. The bite was complicated. The initial crunch of the crispy wrapper, followed by the savory richness of the filling, and finally, the explosive cooling shock of the fresh herbs, all perfectly harmonized by the nuanced fish sauce. This is ridiculous. This meal is a test of motor skills. I have to use both hands, my nose, and my ears. A meal in New York required only my mouth and my credit card. Here it demands the participation of the entire self. And in that moment, she grasped the deepest distinction. In an American restaurant, the food is served pre-cut and arranged. You are the receiver. On a Vietnamese sidewalk, the food is served as ingredients. You are the final creator. Your own hands, messy as they are, assemble the perfect bite for your personal palate. By her third piece, Clara had completely forgotten her obsession with cleanliness. She was focused entirely on balancing the herbs, making sure the sharp perilla leaf didn't overpower the mild bean sprouts. It was an act of practical meditation. The two strangers at the table smiled. One man, seeing her fumble the roll, offered a small, unsolicited piece of advice. Miss Mai translated, "He says you must roll it tighter, miss. Like this, so the sauce doesn't drip, it tastes better." Clara thanked him. She realized that in New York, if she shared a table with strangers, they would try their hardest to ignore her. Here, they were spontaneous instructors, actively invested in improving her experience. Clara mentally calculated the cost. A meal of this quality, with such fresh shrimp and locally sourced herbs, would easily be $35 back home. Here the cost was negligible, just a few dollars. But the real cost she paid back home wasn't measured in money. It was isolation. She paid it by eating alone, by avoiding connection, and by allowing others to perform the creative act of assembly for her. Banh Xeo was a dish that was philosophically impossible to eat alone. It was too large, too messy, and too vibrant. It required the presence of others to complete its communal ritual. As Clara finished her meal, her hands were slick with oil, sauce, and the scent of fresh herbs. She wiped them with a thin tissue, looked at her stained palms, and smiled. These hands once only touched billion-dollar contracts. Now, they have touched life. This is the ultimate profitable transaction. She finally understood. Delicacy wasn't about producing a flawless dish in a sterile environment. Delicacy was about participating in the glorious mess of life, accepting the imperfection, and finding joy in the act of creating and sharing a meal with one's own hands, surrounded by a smiling, supportive community. True appreciation is not the consumption of a finished product, but the full messy participation in the act of eating. If Clara's journey from numb consumption to patient creation resonates with you, please share this story. Don't miss the next chapter in our Slow Drip series, where Clara confronts the art of minimalism, a lesson that stands in direct opposition to the Western obsession with accumulation. Like, share, and follow to join our community, and be notified when the next episode drops. Thank you for watching.